Well, hi everyone, and welcome to another of our amazing student interviews today. I've got an extra special guest for you. Amazing story, and it's been an incredible journey which I've been privileged to be part of since right from the beginning. So, Nancy, tell the folks listening a little bit about you, who you are, what's your location, what sort of model do you have in terms of your business, and who do you love serving?
Great, thanks, Rick. Well, my name is Nancy Townsend. I'm based out of Washington, D.C., and we have a studio in downtown D.C. It's about 2,000 square feet. And basically what we do is semi-private training. I do most of the work myself, but I do have another coach that works alongside me, and I just got on an admin. But for a long time, it's just been me, really, the first 2 years. And we mostly do semi-private training, which has worked pretty well. But we started completely differently. We started pretty much exclusively private training, and the switch to semi-private has just been in about the last year.
Gotcha. Well, let's go back to that time because, you know, we remember it well because it was coming to one of our events and you and I were talking about how we could support you best and what your goals were. And at that stage, you didn't even have a facility. And for those of you listening, the real estate in DC is challenging at best. Would be the explanation there, because it's pretty hard to find cool spaces. So talk to us a little bit about that. Where were you before that event, and when you found and then invested in yourself an MPE?
So I had been training for about 3.5 years at that point as a sole proprietor, also contracting for a big box gym and a yoga studio. So I got a lot of my income from clients that I trained either in their homes or in their apartment gyms. And then I also worked a lot of hours in the big box gym, training private clients as well, with them taking 50%. And then I also taught a few classes at a yoga studio. So that's pretty much where we were. I was really desperate to find a location. And I had been in 2 car accidents from commuting all around the city, where I was rear-ended twice on the way to work, going to another client. And my back was not in great shape from the whiplash. So I just really felt like I needed to find my own space so that people would be coming to me. I would just drive to and from work if necessary, but not driving for 4 hours a day at times. And then I was really having a hard time finding a space. So luckily I found you guys at the perfect time, because I attended one of your events and there were a lot of people there that were gym owners and were having a really tough time, really at the point of no return. And after hearing a lot of that information, I really wanted to make sure that I was set up properly. So I went ahead and did an introductory program that you guys had about, it must be 3.5 years ago now. And finally decided, I was just going to take the plunge and come to mega training. So a couple months later, went to mega training and met you, and that's how I got started. So I found you guys long before I opened my facility. And at that point, I started to look at my facility. I remember you and I were talking about where was I going to be located. Still hadn't found a space. And I was having trouble in DC finding a landlord that would actually trust me to do this. To really sign a lease with me. And so it took about maybe 7 months from mega training, could be maybe 6-7 months, until I really secured my own space.
Yeah, that's awesome. And,
yeah.
Sorry, I know there'll be a bunch of people who are in that sort of same situation, like big box. I'm rushing all around town. I'm exhausted at the end of every day. And essentially, I'm not really growing my own business. I'm really growing someone else's. And you're at the mercy of that environment, which was, I know that was a real challenge for you because of your dedication to providing such a great service. Being in that big box environment, you couldn't control what else was going on, right? And it was a real challenge.
Yeah, that was huge for me, because first of all, I could never do a semi-private class in a big box gym. We wouldn't have adequate use of the equipment and the facility. But honestly, it was with my private clients. I couldn't have any sort of personal conversations with them really where we were, sharing things that I really did need to know as their coach about what was going on with them in ways that would really impact the programming that I did for them. So, we could never really sit down in any sort of office space and have a one-on-one conversation about what was really going on in their nutrition or what their work life was like, how they were managing sleep and stress, not all of that. And on top of that, there's people that are just coming by and stealing your weights or, just, it wasn't what I was trying to offer. I really wanted to offer a much higher level service in a small space, but someplace that would also really be inviting to people and be welcoming to them, because I do work with a lot of people that have never done strength training before. And it's really important for them to feel comfortable walking into it so that it's something that they can get started on.
Right.
And I think that's really important because there's so many people that never try it just because they're intimidated by it and intimidated by the gym, especially.
Yeah. That's
so
it. Sorry, go for it, Nancy. Go for it.
Yeah, so for the first time when I opened my space, I could have these conversations, sit down in the office and really talk to them really deeply about what their goals were, connect with them on a totally different level, and just build that relationship so much more than I had in the past. So it's really hard to kind of look back and remember all those other clients that I previously trained before and just see the difference in the relationship and how committed they were also to really doing my programs. And so it's just been quite a change. A really positive one, for sure.
And I know that there'll be another bunch of people listening to this call who already have their own facility and are like some of those that you mentioned who are at our event at Mega Training, who are sort of on their last legs because they haven't been able to get the support, whereas you did it sort of the other way. You spent some time really implementing the tools and systems, getting the sales system dialed in, which you still use brilliantly to this day, and obviously getting those marketing campaigns ready to run out, and as well as starting to build your list as well. It hasn't all been smooth sailing, and we'll get to that in a moment. But in terms of where you were, what was your average monthly revenue sort of back then before you started with us?
I would say my best month would have been around 7,000.
Gotcha. Okay. And fast forward to sort of 3 and a bit years later, where we are today, you've got as you talked about, you've got the facility, and we'll talk about some of those nuances in a moment, but it's a space that you're really proud of and that allows you to have that real special connection with your clients, which is really quite amazing, and especially seeing the results you get and obviously the length of time people stay with you. Talk to us a little bit about where you are now and what the space looks like and how it makes you feel and revenue and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible. Well, first of all, in terms of numbers, that's usually what people are pretty interested in. It has not been always a straight line for me. It's been a lot of challenges and work, but right now we're at a really wonderful place. And part of that is that we've totally switched our model to semi-private and switched to really focusing on getting people that are interested in long-term commitments and just an overall lifestyle change instead of, just running to try something out and see if they like it or not. So yeah, at this point, we're close to $25,000 for the month. So this is going to be our best month ever, no matter what happens. It's tomorrow will be the last day of February, so we're getting there. But we are at 24,119 for the month at this point, and closing in on 25,000. So that's pretty insane for me to be sitting here saying, because that was a very, very distant goal at one point, and there have been moments where it felt completely unreachable. So I'm very pleased to be in the position that I'm at. I feel very grateful for all of the tools that NPE has given to me as we're taking this journey, and I certainly still find a lot of use for myself as I'm getting to the next chapters in this, in continuing on with all of your guidance and support.
Yeah, well, it's awesome to see, and you certainly deserve all the success you're getting, and the rest, which is still to come as well. Talk to us a little bit about your space now.
Sure,
We'll talk about some of those challenges which incorporate that as
sure.
well. But talk to us about the space now. What does it look like? How's it different to when you first moved in? What have you done to it, and what have you been able to create?
Yeah, so we have, it was really an office space. It's retail level, so kind of street level, just walk in off the street. But it was all kind of had a bunch of walls up, so it was hard for us to really use as a gym space. Now, my husband and I started to kind of break down some of the walls as we could, but we never really had the right moment and enough capital to move forward with some original plans that we had to build out the space. And so it was really a converted office space for about 2 years. And so, we were lifting on rubber mats laid down on top of hardwood. And yeah, it was just not quite the gym space that it really should have been. But it was what I could do. I had no investors, no partners, nobody wanted to give me a loan. So I just did what I could and, you know, kept my clients happy and made it work. But it was definitely not the thing that I was most proud of being able to, just only present in this kind of environment. So we had an incident last year that ended up working out fine. So just to kind of get that out there. But basically 20,000 gallons of steaming hot water poured into my face last year on my birthday. And my husband and I got the call when we were out to lunch. And what happened was that there was basically a leak from an upstairs condo. And when the plumber came to fix it, he cut into an open pipe and then just abandoned the job. So his apprentice called us telling us he was hauling, trash cans full of water out the door. And so we rushed back and helped for another 3 hours to haul all this water out. And they were able to, shut it off. I had my landlord bring a plumber. But anyways, it was a disaster and the floors buckled up. All of the baseboards started kind of splitting off of the floor. And the floor was completely ruined. The contractors had to cut the walls and let everything drain out. And so at that point, it was going to be this huge repair process. And I just said, all right, let's go ahead with the renovation because, we might as well. So we started that. It's been a very long process. It's taken, my contractor said he would finish before the end of May, and it's February. We're still working a little bit, but that being said, there's just a last couple of things. It is so close to being done. Everything is completely usable. It's beautiful. The space is amazing. We got awesome rubber floors to replace the hardwood that was down, and we put some bamboo in our yoga studio and through the locker room and the back office. And, I've been attracting more and more clients with the new space as well. I can tell that people are very excited about it. But most importantly, even not my new clients are very happy with it too, but my old clients who went through this whole process with me, or even the ones that kind of joined along the way. And I had to say, oh, we're almost done, it'll be done soon. And, a few months passed and we're still working on it. Those people have been really supportive, just seeing me kind of push through and grow through this process too. And, sure, it was not an expense that I thought I was ready to undertake at that point, but
Right.
Our membership has really solidified during this process. I think it really pushed me to become very clear on what was important to me and what could be left to the side. It made me a lot more determined to be very straightforward with my clients and my communication, and just make sure that I'm really honoring my time when I, got an entire, design and construction process to plan and work around with, just an architect, but not any other help besides that. So it's been a really great process. And now my office is like amazing. I didn't have an office for 6-7 months while we were going through this process. And now it's just like my favorite place to be. We got everything really changed. I mean, it's a total transformation, and it's just a place that I really love being, but also I love showing off to everybody. So, yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, I think my clients are just kind of like, wow, this is what you wanted to do. you know, we've gone ahead and just really utilized the space in this really incredible way. So it's exciting to see my clients notice things and they're like, oh, wow, yeah, that's such a cool detail. And it really, you know, I was under a lot of pressure getting it all together, but I was very thoughtful with everything I did. And so it's been a great home for our community. You know, it just feels like we really have a solid space now. And, you know, it's just a total step up from what I was able to offer before.
Yeah, it's amazing, and just to see you talked about going through that journey, and to see how much you've grown and changed as well has been an incredible to watch, and your confidence in yourself and your ability to stand up for what you want and say, actually, no, that's not good enough. I need you to do this, and that's not on.
Right.
Whereas, a lot of us, especially dealing with contractors and stuff like that, there's no middle person. You've done it all on your own, which has been amazing. We'll talk about some of the other challenges, because that was not the only ones. There's been others as well. I wanted to, you obviously just reeled off, and I saw you open up your spreadsheet and say, yeah, we're at 24,116 so far. Like, your numbers like no one's business now. And it's incredible that you've got your projections out, you've got your cash flow project, your cash dashboard operating well, your metrics inside and out, and you track them every day, which hasn't always been like that, right, Nancy?
No, I mean, I was so terrified, really paralyzed at one point about the numbers. And so it was just so much, even if I was getting, bank, fees and, negative withdrawal, that kind of thing, it was just so much, felt like, it wasn't less stressful. It was probably much more stressful to not know them, but it just felt like I couldn't face them when we were really struggling. And I really had this idea that, like, I opened my gym and everyone's just going to come because we're in downtown DC. And, I literally, I'm sorry for anybody else who's in the area, but I know that I offer the best results in DC. I know that. And I really just strive to be the very best that I can be. And there's still lots of things that I can improve on and lots of things that I'm learning, but I do know from my results what we have and what we're able to offer. So it just seemed very logical to me, like, okay, people see what can be done in, 12 weeks doing the Amazing 12, for example, which is this incredible program that I offer. And it's really fabulous. If you haven't heard about it, it's from Northern Ireland. The guy who created it, his name is Paul McElroy, a total body transformation that spans the course of 12 weeks, semi-private style, and it's just awesome. But anyways, I didn't want to look at any of that stuff before I had things figured out. And when people didn't just start coming after I opened my space, and I kind of felt like I had to offer something inexpensive to start to attract clients. That's where I really got on a bad path. So I started offering something just like a group training, mostly kettlebells and barbells style class. And a lot of days it would just be me and one other person, and he'd be paying me like $18 an hour. So it's just, I was feeling so depressed because, here I am, first of all, giving this guy a private class. At the same time, I'm charging people that have been with me for 4 or 5 years as private clients, 110, something like that. And, I wasn't doing any better with my classes. I mean, slowly they got bigger and bigger, which was good. But it was not helping me get to where I needed to be at all. And, I was offering such a high-end, personalized service, and then calling it group training, even though it was individualized programming for everybody in the room. And like I said, they're paying me $18 to $22. So when you came on as my coach about 1.5 years ago, we started to talk about making the transition to semi-private. And that was really, really uncomfortable for me because I just had a lot of hangups about disappointing other people. And so I would much rather sell myself short and keep them happy than disappoint them. And, finally I just had to write that letter to my clients and explain the real truth of what was going on and how much we were struggling because I had set up, the memberships completely wrong. And I just explained to them, basically, you've been getting semi-private, but I've been charging you for group training. And, what we're going to have to do is raise the rates to reflect what it actually is and call it what it is, which is not a group class, but it's a semi-private. And so I lost every single one of those people. One hung on for a little while, but when she finally came on for renewal of her contract, her prices were going to go up after she had signed up just for just like a month before we enacted this, and she had a year-long commitment. So I just kept her on. Everybody left, but I mean, first of all, I've more than doubled the group size from what it was before. And the price went up 350% from what it was. So now we charge between 54 and 65 per session, and I train up to 8 people in a class. So it can be quite profitable, basically anywhere from 432 to 520 per hour if I'm maxing out on my clients, which a lot of times we are. So we have gotten to the point where now we've transitioned to a system that allows our clients to have a set time, which I thought they were also going to hate. Turned out great suggestion, Rick. They loved having a time set aside for them. And they also love, having that little bit of flexibility when they need it to, choose another time available.
Right.
But that has been a really fabulous addition too, because it just creates a lot more structure, and it has really encouraged people to be much more accountable to their program. Just having that routine, having that session that they're consistently signed up for has really helped them step it up. And we've seen the differences in the results as well, which has been really cool, and just enthusiasm from clients.
Yeah, it's such an amazing story. As I mentioned, I certainly feel privileged to be part of it in a small way. I mean, you talked about a couple of things there, and some of those challenges that you faced. Certainly, getting the complete flooding of the facility would have just knocked some people out, and they would have thrown in the towel, pardon the pun, at that stage, and said, "No, too hard. I'm going to go back to my comfort zone." But you haven't, and you've continued to stay out of your comfort zone, because you've had to, as you mentioned, you've had to learn how to value yourself and price yourself accordingly and guard your time as well, rather than just giving and giving and giving with no parameters there. And you've had to overcome some other, fairly major challenges as well, in terms of developing yourself as a business owner rather than just an amazing coach, to make that shift. And that's not been easy, has it?
No, it's been, I would say, I have had to work really hard to, continue to believe in myself. But what I keep remembering and reminding myself is that I have been resilient. I have pushed through. I have been through a whole lot more than, what's happened in the last 3 years. And when I just remind myself of that ability to keep pushing forward and persevering, it just makes me say, okay, we can do this one more time. We can take the next challenge on. I'm not ready to give up. I'm not going to do this. But I have had, when the flood happened, I really love both my parents, but both of them individually encouraged me to just see if I could get out of the lease because of the damage to the studio. Just talk to your landlord and see if, just get out of your lease, because at that point we really were in a really tough place financially. And at that point it was do or die. So I just really dug my heels in and said, no, I've been working hard. Like, we're just starting to turn things around. I'm not giving this up. Are you kidding? And so at that point, things actually really took off. Even with, all the repairs going on, I just said, this is do or die. We got to do it. So, and that being said, there's been a lot of, growth outside of business ownership, which has also positively impacted me as a business owner. And so, I think personal development is huge, and having mentors and whatever other help you need. I think that we all be better off if we continue to ask for help and continue to receive guidance from people that have been there before. I know that I rely on, Paul McElroy, for example, in terms of how to help guide me to be better at programming and strength training, coaching, and all of that. I rely on you, Rick, as my mentor here through NPE. But I also think it's really important for people to just know that it is okay to ask for help, and it is okay to, just check in with what other people have had success with and try something a little bit different. But I was really resistant at first to trying switching everything over. It was always, it had to be kind of, well, let me just tweak it a little bit. So it's, I don't feel quite comfortable asking people if they're ready to, sign up for their membership in a consultation. I won't include that, but it's really important to follow the instructions, and they are there for a reason. Every time I've followed the instructions, it's definitely served me. So yeah, it's been a really wonderful year and a half, and it's been a lot of work and just kind of confronting myself at every turn and just making sure that I'm turning towards problems and turning towards what I really want out of life, instead of settling for something just because I'm afraid to take it for myself, or I'm afraid to let someone else, or that somebody will think something about me because of my success. So yeah, I would say my confidence has definitely changed, and I feel like I can speak much more authentically all around, which is, so yeah.
It's such an amazing story, and yeah, it has been quite incredible. And I know for people in our community, you being a finalist for our Member of the Year in 2018, they got to hear even more of the story as well, and it's still getting spoken about in terms of, I remember when Nancy said this and Nancy said that. You talked about a couple of the lessons, I guess, that you've learned about valuing yourself and working on yourself, both inside and outside the business as well. Do you have any other sort of major takeaways or things which you've really benefited from or learned during this sort of 3-year process?
Yeah, I mean, it has been something that I've heard from NPE from the start, is just that the change really starts with us. And, if we can become better humans in general, with whatever it is that needs to be healed. For me, it's, my anxiety and, baggage and, that kind of stuff. But I ask for help now. I go to therapy, which is awesome, and, totally recommend it. I think it's a good thing. I also was dealing with a lot of chronic pain, which was making it hard for me to just be positive all the time. Those car accidents, created a back spasm that lasted for 5 years. And I was so stubborn that, it wasn't going to go away, that I really, after trying a few things, I just kind of gave up on it. I said, well, the massage didn't work, physical therapy didn't work. Okay, well, I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't know what I can do. And I also can't afford to keep, throwing more money at this. But last summer I said, you know what, I'm just going to try something. And I found the best chiropractor in DC, and he fixed my back in 2 sessions. And I mean, it's like taken me a lot to get to that point of, just taking absolute best care of myself, prioritizing that, working out very consistently, and eating very healthily. And then also focusing on where else can I receive help now with bringing on this admin. So that's been really huge, to start to trust someone and just give them the reins to some things and take some work off of my plate.
Yes.
Other big lessons, I mean, I would say, keep investing in yourself. Knowing your numbers is really important. One thing that I learned from one of my early NP coaches was to practice imperfect action. I had a really hard time taking action sometimes. I would just start to procrastinate, or just kind of do it over and over and over again, thinking, oh no, this isn't right, I have to write this email 6 times. And that was really standing in my way. So I tried to just kind of simplify let myself have a little bit of grace in some of these moments and not take things too seriously. And then really it's been trusting my own gut and trying to figure out what my weaknesses are, where I can really improve, and working on those and learning from that. So if you are a new business owner, please raise your rates. That's huge. If you are not charging your worth, go ahead and do it. If you aren't sure how to really create results, look to people that know how to do that, so that you can find a system and create a system that works well for you, so that you really can promise these results to clients and guarantee them and be worth really somebody spending a lot of money on a monthly basis with you. And then I would say, just really developing those personal relationships, actually caring, being really compassionate with people, and learning a lot about them, and also just focusing on clear communication with them, so that you don't fall down the path that I took, of sometimes over-promising things or saying, oh, no, it's okay. Yeah, I can return that session to you. So being straight on your boundaries with things is really crucial. But that being said, if you have to backtrack down the road, people will understand where you're coming from, especially if your heart's in it. So follow your passion. You can do it.
Wow, that was incredible, folks. Stop this, rewind it, and just listen to that last 2 minutes again. There was some absolute gold in there, Nancy. Hey, thank you so much for sharing. Look, it has been an amazing story, and it's often challenging for us because we want incredible results in 6 months, but we often don't realize what we can do in 3 years, because in the big scheme, it's not been that long a time, even though it's been an incredible up and down journey and challenges and been uncomfortable and successes and all those sorts of things. But it's really incredible to see that the space you're in now, and this is just really the start, with your confidence now, your self-belief, as you mentioned, and those lessons and advice you've just given, which is priceless. It's going to just mean this is just a stepping stone for you for even bigger things. So thank you so much for your time today. As always, you give so much back to the community that I really appreciate it. MP really appreciates it. And I'm sure there's going to be hundreds of people watching this thinking, oh, wow, finally, it's not just me. I'm not the only one going through with some of these internal and external challenges. So thank you so much for being so honest and sharing your passion.
My pleasure. Absolutely.
Well, fantastic.
Hope to inspire some others. Yep.
Well, you absolutely have. So good stuff, folks. I can't encourage you, rewind that last bit and just listen to those 3 minutes, because there was some real diamonds in there for those of you who need it. So Nancy, thanks again for your time. I know you and I will be speaking again very soon on the group calls, but thanks again. We'll speak to you very soon.
Thanks, Rick.
Bye for now.